this is my daughter, and she's a disabled veteran. She's 23 years old, so a very young one. She's blind in one eye, so she's not just being cool with the glasses. But suffers from anxiety, PTSD, and all those things as a result of some her military service, etc. So we had some ideas that, having gone through the veteran system, she transitioned through Cote d'Ivoire and everything, and then has been discharged, I guess, and just got permanent disability recently, but was discharged 2 years ago, I think, at this point. But we feel like, and I'm so glad what you're doing with the physically disabled veterans with the caregivers. With her, we feel like, because she was so young, she joined right out of high school. She didn't know how to do life or anything like that. She went through Cote d'Ivoire, which is great. It transitions and tries to teach you and tells you how to do your resume and all those good things when you're transitioning out to be a civilian. But at the same time, she was getting surgeries and there was a lot to worry about anyway. If she wouldn't have been released, the bottom line is, and didn't have sort of a halfway house or mentor or low income housing or a caregiver of some form to help her manipulate through getting set up in life, because she had so little knowledge because she was so young. Yeah. If we wouldn't have been able to step back, and I did take a leave of absence from my job, be her permanent caregiver, she would probably be dead, or because of her mental issues that she couldn't have taken care of, or homeless because she wouldn't have known how to get herself set up, and on the disability that she even got paid, although we appreciate it all, wouldn't have been able to live in an area that would have been suitable and safe for her. So we think, one of the ideas would be sort of that caregivers should have the same ability like the physically disabled, the mentally ill, disabled veterans should have the same kind of caregivers that are able to them. Our thing was denied. We asked for that support because she can quote unquote dress herself.
In which I told them, how can I dress myself if I killed myself? And they didn't really know how to respond to that, and this woman saved my life. And I go, so you're not gonna give this woman who saved a veteran's life, I mean, I would call her at 3 a.m. in the morning, I'm having a PTSD episode, I need you to come over. I also suffer from a TBI, from a remote weapon system exposure.
Where were you injured?
Second Cavalry Regiment, Germany, Vilsack.
Germany.
Yes, sir. And so as you can imagine, I've been on the physical side and the mental side. The physical side has been great to me. The eye care has been amazing. With my hip injury, it's been amazing. But on the mental health side, it seems to be swept under the rug.
And caregivers, that 23 hours after, especially with PTSD, that's so you don't know when it's going to come up,
Sure.
so you kind of have to be on call all the time. And I'm a realtor, so that was really hard because I'm on call anyway, and trying to help her, she's on the fetal position on the floor, get through whatever it is. So caregivers, as well as the physical disabled patients, I think should be relooked at to look and evaluate her more just on versus just if they can, because she can dress herself, but it doesn't mean she will do it that day,
I agree with you. One of the things in Congressman Brad's office that may need to be looked at by someone else. Let me also tell you all, yesterday we held a hearing that we're going to start. If people ask me, what are you going to do next year? There's so much to go over. It's just hard. We've got so much we're doing. And by the way, I want to tell, I don't know whether you, look, the district I live in, until the Hun is a liberal there, to let you know how conservative that place I live. I could care less what political branch I'm serving with veterans. I don't care what you are. And neither does Dave. But when it comes to our veterans, we're going to take care of your needs as best we can. And we'll never get it all right. We're having 20 veterans, active duty, guard and reserves commit suicide every day in this country. And we started in 2000, let me give you these numbers. In 2003, because we just had this hearing yesterday, 2003 we spent $2.4 billion on those mental health services. This year's budget is about $8 billion. The line is steady. It's the same. And I said, look, if we're not making any progress, why don't we find out what does work and do that and quit working? We have a plan. I want to tell you guys this because I think every guard, and General, I think this is one, General Hastings is the commander of the Tennessee Guard. And he took over in 2011. The first 40 days, he was the commander of the Tennessee Guard. He had 4 suicides. He said, we got to do something. Got to be something done. So he he got in with a foundation called the Jason Foundation and started a Guard Your Buddy program. And what they did was, you got a buddy, you got a buddy right there. It's your buddy.
Right.
And on that, and young people like you are more likely to do it. You know, I basically, you could hand me a hand crank. That's about what I use a phone for and email. But they put an app on, and literally you can hit this app. I've done it. And in less than 2 clicks, you can be talking to a master's level psychologist.
That's our next.
2
that's
clicks,
good.
master's level,
That's our next.
day or night. And let me tell you what's happened. The suicide rate in the Tennessee Guard has dropped 68%. And it costs $1.50 a month per enrollee. It's nothing. And we ought to scale that across. I said, look, we know this is working. Why don't we do this across the country? What is working? We're spending all this money and we're getting the same result.
Well, not only that, but somebody with TBI or PTSD, if they have a regular therapy appointment, if they're having a bad day, the last thing they want to do is get dressed and drive to the therapy appointment. So that video chat would be great, so
Yes.
that they can have it in the comfort
Well,
of their own living room and not miss those.
We passed a bill, and again, there are so many, I can't go through them all, but we passed a bill that allows, you can't do it in private medicine because of Medicare, because of, like, I have my license in Tennessee, but I'm not licensed to practice medicine in Virginia. And so we're using telehealth now across the country. I was in a VA hospital in St. Louis, Missouri, not too long ago, 6 weeks ago, and they had specialists at an ICU in Chicago that actually consulted them via telehealth to take care of ICU patients. We'll go to someone else. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Dana Parsons. Thank you for being here today. I'm with Leading Age Virginia and representing the Continuum of Aging Services. And we want to bring an issue to your attention regarding veterans who participate in adult day services. This is a great program for veterans. It allows them to stay in their homes, prevents them from going to nursing homes, and having socialization during the day. Recently, we were informed that veterans' eligibility has been cut. So veterans who were going to adult day for 5 days a week, or 4 or 3, have been in some cases cut down to 1 or 2 days a week. And many adult days are now not being able to serve adult veterans because of this issue. And so I just ask for your help to restore eligibility so that veterans could go to adult day and receive all the services that they
I agree
need.
with you, it is a great
Thank you.
service.
So, unfortunately, I got a lot of them. Thank you so much for allowing me the platform to speak. I really appreciate it. I did send a letter to the secretary.
For everybody.
Sorry.
Which is your, yeah, because so everyone in the room can hear.
So I'm Megan Kelly, no relation. A little bit nicer than she is. I actually was Marine and Army Guard, and I also, I am also a PMP, SharePoint developer, business analyst, master's degree, certification from Stanford, and I was honored to be the program director for the 1-800-Suicide for the First Lady Bush, the original one, for her suicide prevention program, and I still have every one of her requirements that she did for that application. Not many actually made it to the actual product, but I have quite a number of things that a lot of the people, I represent a whole bunch of Facebook blogs, you know, Veterans of Veteran, the MST, women's sexual trauma, the military sexual trauma, a lot of the different components, and it's basically survivors helping others with victim empowerment. But a lot of different things that we've noticed that really need to come to the forefront. We have a lot of veterans, and a lot of veterans with a lot of different skills that can be of help, and we are available, and we want to help. We see the broken, and we want to fix. Not just for ourselves, but for our family. Because everyone can tell you, especially in the Marine Corps, once a Marine, always a Marine, he is my brother, she is my sister, and I will fight for her and him just as much as I will my own family.
And we'll
So-
never quit.
Exactly. To death, and probably even beyond. So the claims process is broken. I go to Virginia, I'm 60%. I go to South Carolina, I'm 80%. Go to Minnesota, been offered 100%. Kind of an incentive to go to Minnesota, but but it's the same manual. It's the same for every state. However, it's very subjective based on the people that are in there. So, you know, just to throw this in, I'm gonna kind of get myself a little bit in here. My MST was denied, my MST PTSD was denied. The sole reason why they actually gave it to me, rape as a reservist does not count. Violated. I have podiatry, DBQ by the VA podiatrist. The CMP, oh, and by the way, for my MST, I was never granted a CMP for the entire process. The MST coordinator never called and left a voicemail to let me know she was assigned, even though it was something that apparently, after the fact, I found out was supposed to be someone who helped me with that. I had a TIA right before I submitted the claim, so I was incapacitated. My hardship was denied, or excuse me, my hardship was granted, just never put into the system until Congressman Bratt and his congressional. But at that point, I had actually already requested to go back to work, even though I was not medically fit. I did have to go back to work because my family could not survive on $385 a month. Lost my house, Chapter 7, you know, had a security clearance and basically had to give it up because of that. You know, so not to throw myself. I work for a lot of different people on those blogs. Almost 100% of the ones that kind of chime into those things are rape victims that have been denied. A lot of them, you know, I want to say that, you know, they have to get a lawyer, they have to do whatever. I had one friend, very, very dear friend, 37 years ago, she actually had her, she was Air Force, unfortunately, still a dear friend, but she was in Air Force base housing. A coworker broke into her house after she had put her children to sleep, broke her jaw, broke her body, was about ready to rape her when a neighbor saved her life. It took 37 years of appeals for her to get 10% service-connected PTSD. Her TMJ for her broken jaw, still denied, and she is still appealing. And unfortunately, all of her congressmen and senators never even responded when she went to cry for help.
Tell her to get the grant program.
Her VSO is trying to help.
Yeah, advise her, seriously, get her the grant program.
Yeah, her VSO is actually trying to help now, and it's starting to come through, but it's a challenge, and for those that have actually gone through all of those different things, it is painful. For my actual feet, that was a 2014 DBQ by a VA podiatrist. I am still 3 years away from actually meeting the General's VBA board.
Let me say one thing before you go on military sexual trauma. Those of y'all don't know what MST is. We just had an IG report, which the VA's RO, the regional offices, under evaluated those by 50%. So we're taking a look, and I will tell you all this. I'll share this with you. I don't think it's not a secret, but I have 2 investigative teams, and what I will do is I will send a team out to a VA center with 1 hour's notice. I've sent them all over the country. You knock on the door, you say, we'll be there in an hour. You can't sweep the dirt up in an hour. And we go through that whole VA hospital, and they send me back a report. I've done that time and time again. If you see something out there that's, and look, I've got to tell you, the VA in my hometown, it's a 4 or 5-star VA. They do a great job. I am so proud of the VA hospital, but they're not all where I live. They're not all like that. And the VA is a huge organization. When I got there in 2009, there were 250,000 employees. Today, the VA has 370,000 employees. It's larger than the U.S. Navy. So that's how big it's gotten. And it is a situation, you're absolutely right. One RO might do this. The other RO may show you for the same exact, we're trying to get that standardized.
Actually, that's where I can help you, sir. With my IT background, I've worked numerous federal contracts, 3-letter agencies and on up, BICAP, the whole bit. I actually have ideas that I wanted to present. I sent a letter to the Secretary of VA, ignored. And I actually gave him all of my credentials and said, sir, I know how to fix you. You have the workflow, you have the technology, you just need to put it to work for you. And you're not. You have one manual. It's very easy to automate that manual. It's very easy to basically make it to where even my daughter, who's 25 and she's special needs, 4th grade reading level, even she can understand it. Because I've actually processed it, you know, the understanding through her, what it is, the step-by-step. But for the appeals, the same thing. You have that technology, it just is not extended to that. You don't have that visibility, you don't have that capability for veterans to get in there and help themselves or even understand what that no was. We have the skills, we have the technology. And for the doctor in you, I had 4 bad anthrax shots, a dozen illnesses linked to my anthrax shot. I get to go to surgery, 10-3, basically get half my stomach hacked up. WRIS is one of the war center illnesses that is on your website that basically says if you have anthrax shot injuries, you're supposed to go with them. I was denied because I was not deployed. On one of the other blogs that I belong to, there are at least 50 other soldiers that were neither deployed. I spoke to Dr. Bach, who is the senior researcher over in Minnesota VA for the burn pit. I have the exact same genetic markers for the burn pit. I have almost half, if not more, of the illnesses for burn pit, but yet I did not deploy. And according to him and myself and my doctors and all of the research, thankfully for the hematologist who actually did some digging and found the tumors in enough time to save me, unlike another one of my friends that had the anthrax shot that I did and already is dead. Basically, it's our genetic makeup. It basically put our liver into the chronic inflammation state. So everything that can get inflamed in our bodies is allergies, asthma. I have cysts in my liver and my uterus. One's the size of a grapefruit right now. The other one is the size of a cantaloupe. I have adrenal gland cysts. I have kidney cysts. You know, I've been told by the pulmonologist at Walter Reed that more than likely I'm going to die from COPD because of the damage that was done to my lungs. He likened it to a firefighter that goes into a burning building and gets his lungs singed in the fire. I don't smoke, but chances are I will probably die from COPD. But the only thing that's service connected is the asthma. All the rest of them, WRIS has denied care and said because I did not deploy, I cannot go and get the care. I cannot get the service connection. And because of my commanding officer throwing my medical records in the trash during my deployment, because of my getting sick, I don't have the medical documentation to prove it now. So therefore, none of it is getting service connected.
What I would do, and for the trustees, we got a lot of people who want to get questions asked. Why don't you take that up with his case people? So there's some other folks I think will ask questions, and we can get this.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, one other thing that I really would like to try to do this, I spoke to the.
How many people have questions? Just
Yeah, there's a bunch of people.
Let's try to get through questions that are policy related, and then the case study, we will meet with everybody here in my staff, we will get that done. Let's focus on, what we have.
Yes, sir.
Chairman,
Yes, sir, I did.
How am I gonna go with these guys? I went off to a beautiful vacation resort in southern South Carolina
Gotta
in
make-
'73.
And just for the record, for you Marines out there, it was the Army that actually captured Bellinwood. I just want to pass that.
Not true, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marine.
No, sir. The battle.
29 was on the right, and they.
No, wait a minute. The Battle of Bellewood, you're correct. The town of Bellewood, because I was there, and the Army took that.
That was the easy part.
Just a point of personal privilege. Go right ahead.
There's a couple of issues here. The first one I want to address is the opioid problem. My job in the Marine Corps, I was a narcotics dog handler. So I was around drugs, and we got all the don't do's, and we sucked it up, and we knew it. So when in 1991, when I returned from the Gulf, well, I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to school, and I went to the Army, and they taught me how to fly helicopters. So that's how I ended up at Fort Campbell flying Blackhawks. Yes, the opioid situation, years back, they had to convince me to take these things. The doctor spent a whole appointment telling me that if you don't, Mr. Tucker, you're not gonna be able to perform normal daily tasks. Well, that was back in 1991, and I didn't believe that. But now I'm starting to discover we really beat the hell out of our bodies. I found out last week from an MRI that I broke my back somewhere. Now, this opioid thing, they gave me the stuff and it started to work. And I was able to perform things. I wasn't able to choose what child sporting event to go to because I couldn't do both. And I had anxiety issues. So they gave me the benzos. Somewhere along the way, I stopped that. I got off of that. So then I try to get back. I'm having tremendous issues with night terrors. I've had concussions, I fly out of bed, and had to get hauled to the hospital in an ambulance. And all the VA wants to do is cram antidepressants in us. And I don't know how many other guys are getting that. You got a problem, you walk into mental health in the VA, you're depressed. We're gonna give you these antidepressants. I've got a whole bunch of pages of antidepressants. I'm taking any more. I try to take it myself off of those things. Now, what gets me mad on that is they're telling me that I'm wrong, that this stuff will kill you if we combine that stuff. Well, why didn't you tell me that back when I was given this stuff and it was successful? I don't use drugs. I use my meds as prescribed. At one point, I was taking 180 milligrams of morphine a day, not including the breakthrough meds of Percocet. I gradually got that down. Now, this is kind of off the subject, but when I go to class reunions, having been away from people, and they find out I'm taking morphine 3 times a day, a lot of them lose their minds. What's wrong with you? Have you tried marijuana? No, I was, I did.
And I think Doc, and you heard enough to make your.
I can.
I think he'll connect some dots for you. And that's just give a doctor, because he's both a doctor and a veteran.
About what's happening right now.
So give your assessment so we can get you where you need, and we can get everybody in here answered.
Here's basically the situation that we have. There are people that have chronic pain. There are a lot of ways to manage chronic pain. We also have an opioid epidemic in the country. In 1998, in the state of Tennessee, we delivered to the entire state of Tennessee 50 opioid-addicted babies in the entire state of Tennessee. In 2015, we had over 1,000. I got started with the absolute first neonatal intensive care unit. We started in a closet in 1978 in the old hospital at home. We now have a state-of-the-art, we have a medical school on the VA campus there in Johnson City. We have a state-of-the-art 50-bed neonatal intensive regional care center for Southwest Virginia, a little bit of North Carolina, Kentucky, and Tennessee. We now have a separate NICU for drug-addicted babies. We had 1,700 Tennesseans die of drug abuse. That's the dark side. Okay, there's a huge problem there. What happened to you in the early 90s and mid-90s was, and Medicare actually promoted this, was that we treated pain as a 5th vital sign. And it's not a vital sign. And there are 4 vital signs, and they're all objective. You can measure every one of them. And doctors got dinged if they didn't prescribe these things. And they can become addicted to people, but there are patients, properly managed, who need these drugs. There's no question there is a proper use for these drugs. It's not for someone like me, who's an OBGYN doctor. That's not for me to do. It would take an expert in pain management to do that. But there's one county I just read about it today, in my state, a county that has 250-something narcotic pills for every resident in the county prescribed. That's crazy. So somewhere in the middle, and by the way, when you mentioned the opioids, we just voted on a bill this week that will fund about $8 billion in being able to look at alternatives and different ways to treat this. So that's a very individual thing that you've got where you sit down and have that discussion with
I was
your
able
doctor.
by doing that, of course, we didn't talk about that, so it's what I did to work on it. But I got down from 180 milligrams down to 45 milligrams. Well, that's no longer the case. I was arrested for possessing 2 grams of marijuana, so I don't mess anymore. My opioids coming back up again. It's a hurt. Hurt bad. They come a new cyst on my spine.
Well, let me tell you what I did do also. Again, too many bills to go over all of them. But I have I've heard this business about medical marijuana all my life. I'm a scientist, okay? Either does work or doesn't. No one has actually, that's a personal testimony. Science is where you have a double-blinded study where you take this, you don't know whether you're getting it or not. The other guys know what you're getting, and you study the results. I've now not ordered, but strongly ordered the VA to carry out that study. I've been trying to get that done for years. And finally now it's funded, and that will be done. We will find out, does it work or does it not as a scientist.
You know, I went to that mental health clinic there, went to show a doctor what someone was doing, touching me, and I would do that. You don't touch anybody these days. Yeah, it's assault. I wouldn't hold anyone's hand unless I had to. Can I hold your hand? Well, you should have. You got cowards in the chair, and I got to. What kind of a doctor? We don't have a report. I'm leaving. So I tried to get another doctor, and they said, sir, fill out this form. It's going to take at least 30 days to process that. Then you have to wait for the appointment. It was 3 months later. I took my situation to Channel 8 News. They did a segment on it. Since then, I can't go through that door at the wire. My things have been flagged. They write disruptive behavior reports on me. I was thrown out of the emergency room one night because the doctor refused to look at my spine. Yes. Well, now what's happening is I had 3 appointments canceled in the last week, 2 yesterday. I wanted to have those things today and to give to the Journal. And they said, I canceled those appointments. So they're retaliating now because I'm doing it. And I don't go into B anymore without this, and it's recording. I'm recording right now. My problem is, how do I get these things transcribed to answer these messages that's being given by the director of
We'll keep it.
public
I'll make,
relations?
It's a case.
we'll get it. We'll get it. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is John Richardson, retired Air Force enlisted, got my direct commission with the Navy. Chairman Rowe, thank you for being here. Congressman Bratt, of course, you know my great appreciation for you and your staff. I will say this about General Igu. I served with her husband in 2000, from 2010 to 2011. He's no longer with us. We lost a great American. The only prideful moment that I ever saw him have was the announcement of her promotion. And I don't believe in coincidences. I know how many times I should have been taken from this earth. So I am so happy that she is on your staff. I'm happy. It was an honor and privilege to serve with Colonel Damon Igu, and both of you are great Americans, and I really appreciate you. One thing I want to say is that anyone who is a 100%er for pay purposes, there's the small insurance policy that you get. If you're paying for it, you're not supposed to be paying for it. you have to apply for a waiver. And the booklet is written in this stilted language that no one can understand. The VA deliberately produces documents, forms in language that is sometimes incomprehensible. You can't even understand exactly what the sentence says. That's one thing I want to tell you. If you are 100% for pay purposes and you are paying for that $10,000 life insurance policy, you should not be. And you should not have to apply for something that you've already earned. You should not have to apply for a waiver. When I raised this problem, just as this gentleman said, I was literally targeted by the VA. I cannot go to a VA facility for treatment. I'm on a hit list. And don't believe that they don't exist. If you cause a problem, you're flagged.
Yes,
I was
flagged yesterday.
I was told a story that the gentleman lost 50 pounds, we called him back in, we cut his benefits by 50%. So, but the simple thing I do want to say is that if you are 100% for pay purposes and they are taking this $38 to $40 a month out of your benefit, you have to apply to stop that. And then you can only get up to $600 back. Say, for example, you are a World War II veteran, you didn't know this. My wife, who is very good at detail-oriented things, she read it and she said, honey, you're not supposed to be paying for this. So when I brought the issue up, it really erupted. It really bounced back towards me. But I do want to make that point, and something should be done about that. There should not be any such thing as a waiver. There should not be any staff hours, personnel hours dedicated to something that you have already earned. You should not have to apply. I can't come up with an analogy, but it's like applying for salvation if you're a Christian. It doesn't work that way.
I do that every day.
Well, but you know what I mean. It's free. And so I want to make sure you know about that. And then I have a letter that I wrote to the last administration. Congressman Brad addressed his cover letter to the president himself. I'm talking the previous administration. Senator Kane, his cover letter went to the Congressional Liaison Office. After little to zero help, his chief of staff, Senator Kane's chief of staff, told me don't bother them anymore. Mark Warner, the same with them, won't return my phone calls. This 355 cases that Congressman Brad is talking about, it's more than that. It's actually more than that. Because a lot of our situations are inter and intra-agency involved. I have multiple issues that the congressman has been working on and his staff have been working on with me since 2012. So I'm probably, my situation, I would add another 20 if you're counting metrics. I would add another 20 to that count, just representing me and my wife, helping me alone. But I would ask one thing. I would ask if I could hand this letter to a member of your staff, sir, and that
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that this is one of those divine providence moments, because I know the language that this president, would use to address what's been done to me. If you Google my name, John Richardson, and you look at 2 news articles from the McClatchy News Service, written by Marissa Taylor, you will find out that not only did I lose my promotion that I earned, I was promoted to 05 for my last deployment, and for ending up on the temporary disability retirement list, my promotion was taken. Then I went back to my federal job at Internal Affairs for a federal agency, and I was forced out of my job because of my disabilities. People think I look fit, but I have 3 dozen bolts and 2 titanium rods and other metal in my body from my service. That's my personal story. I will give you my letter, Mr. Chairman. But I do want to thank Congressman Bratt. And the thing is when you come to the staff, they get frustrated too. You have to realize this man is basically a corporate level executive. She is a corporate level VP. You need to do your research. You need to come with them, to them, and have solutions. You need to help narrow the gap for them so they can better understand how to help you. A lot of this stuff comes out of us emotionally, but we have to help them do the work on our behalf. And one of the ways in which you do that is that you educate yourself on the regs.
Yep.
If a VSO won't help you, do it yourself. But you cannot just come to them with just your personal pain, because everyone's pain, everyone has a story, everyone has problems, and even the young men, I was on Admiral Clark's protective detail when the first wave of Marines were coming back, and I can tell you, I know the impact that these young people and what these young people out of high school are suffering from. So someone who's basically 60 years old and who can write and who can speak for himself, if this is what's being done to me, I can only imagine what's being done to some of these younger folks that went in right out of high school because they are dedicated to preserving this country. So with that in mind, I'll yield the mic.
John, my guess is a lawyer wrote that, not to disparage anybody, but my guess is it was probably written by some legal teams. You can't understand the word in it.
No, sir.
Through my
Cannot.
house.
Or running this country.
But please, that issue alone, I believe Prudential.
I got a note on that, and
Yes,
I'll check.
Thank you, and I'll just generalize it, because we went through all 10 counties, over August, met with a lot of veterans, and that same issue came up. I don't know whether you could address it in general, but in general, the VA Choice Act, and now the new bill, a lot of people had the same question, said, I gotta travel rural areas, drive an hour and a half, and I don't know that I'm covered when I get there. Says, I gotta go there and then find out that I'm covered. Are they working on?
Yes,
That's
let
not
me
his
give you, and then we're gonna get this gentleman here, let me give you a quick, just a very Cliff Notes version of this. Dave, my idea is this, is if you are living in an area and you have to drive an hour and a half, okay, and I was in Medford, Oregon, okay? It's a 5-hour drive to Portland. It already snowed when I was there in October. So it might as well have been 100 miles or 500 miles, I mean, if you're living in Oregon in the middle of the winter. The idea is, and I didn't get into this, that the VA is implementing right now, beginning to the largest change of an electronic health record in the world. It's a $15 billion program. And let me give you my vision for how it's going to work. It's one of the reasons I'm going to stick around for another term, is to help them get this implemented. The idea is that you go in when you're 18 years old and you develop, look, this was my medical record when I was at Thomas Jefferson, the same piece of paper. If you lost it, burned it up, whatever, is gone. The idea is you go in and you have that record. That's a virtual lifetime record. You're on active duty. DOD is putting the same system in that VA will. So when you walk out of when DOD says you're released, medically or otherwise, that information is seamlessly transferred. Let me give you, we're talking about disability benefits. It was maddening to me to learn this. Okay, so you've got a record that's this thick, okay? The VA system, the way the electronic record system works, it's siloed. It's only in this hospital right here has a hard time talking to Mountain Home if somebody transfers down there. I've got patients who do dialysis. All right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. That's when dialysis is done. Let's say a guy goes in Friday to the VA at Mountain Home in Johnson City and gets his medicine changed. He shows up at the dialysis center on Saturday. They don't know what medicine. That's fairly important to know what a dialysis patient's got. So the idea is to have that record when it's fully implemented. It will take about 8 to 10 years to do that. And it's a huge undertaking. But the idea will be that that disability claims person can pick that up and look right back into that record and go through the whole claim. And let me tell you what else we found out. A little sneaky investigation we did. That in many of the ROs, they took a very thick record and only did a shallow dive, okay? You do a dive about that deep, not through the whole record. So what happens then, you've cleared that one off your desk, and you get a little star, you know, a trophy or whatever you get. And over here, and so you've done a lot of claims, you're very effective. You're effective if that claim is evaluated properly, but you need the tools to do it. So we're doing that. Scheduling. The VA right now has a very disjointed scheduling system. So my idea is, we talk about burn pits. I don't want to wake up 50 years from now and they don't know who Phil Rowe, whoever he was. We don't know who that guy ever was. I want you to be able to find the information on her and follow her for a lifetime. So 40 years from now, you can look at your metrics, diseases that you may have, and find out, is there an association with it? So we're not guessing like we do on Blue Water now. That's my vision. It is a big system, John, and it's a huge bureaucratic system. There are a lot of good people, and I want to pass this along for all of you all to know. Our country, and I'm very proud of this, our country spends more money on our nation's veterans than all other countries in the world put together, period. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. There is.
Because they had war.
No, sir.
Is it per person?
It is more total dollars. One of the things that I'm trying to do is make sure those dollars are spent so the veteran gets them. Another deep dive on homeless veterans. We're spending $7.5 billion a year. I'm just not sure the homeless veterans are getting that money. Yes, sir, in fact.
And we're gonna do, we got 5 minutes before the doctor has to get on the road for his meetings this evening.
Well, actually, no, I'm gonna meet my Sheltie, because we're not gonna get home till about 11:30 tonight. We got about a 5.5
Try
hour
to
drive.
make these, we'll do rapid fire questions,
Yeah, I'll
and
go
then
as
he'll
fast
give
as I
a
can.
final wrap-around. Fire away.
Mine's gonna
Yes,
be
sir.
quick.
Good.
Thank you, folks. Thank you for this town hall meeting. Thank you for your service, and my fellow veteran brothers and sisters, thank you for yours. Here's my question, and I'll be finished. Who is the Senate Chairman of the Veterans of?
Senator Isaacson, Johnny Isaacson.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's it.
Good, keep it like that. Right. Go ahead.
No, anybody?
With regards to the women veterans,
Where I'm looking. Oh,
Okay,
okay.
sorry.
with regards to women veterans, I have issues going through the VA system. I have to go to 3 different hospitals to get treated. And now I'm being treated outside. Are you guys trying to streamline that better for us and actually build clinics designed just to treat women? Because a lot of my doctors don't know how to treat me.
Yeah, she is 100% correct. Look, the VA was built for men. I mean, they built the men as an old soldiers home where I am for Civil War veterans. There weren't any women or minimally. Now, at least 10%, the fastest growing segment of our veteran population are women. And I never really thought about it because my office was totally designed for women. That's all we saw. But that's not how VAs were. It can be very uncomfortable for women in some settings that they go in as a bunch of guys, you know, BS like we do. Stupid's on the Y chromosome, you do that. And so we need to have, and they are doing that. The VA, I will say to you, around the country, I've been to many facilities, and some of them are absolutely for women state of the art. They're not all the way there yet. And not all VA medical centers have an OBGYN doctor. I saw in my practice, our practice in Johnson City, VA patients, because for years they didn't have an OBGYN doctor. The nurse practitioner out there was a patient of mine, so she just sent them all to us. That gets back to the electronic health record. We're very fast with this. The idea for that record is if you come to my office, it's a cloud-based system where I can have access to it on the private sector. I can be part of the VA team. In other words, we share that information. It's critically important to have that because you don't duplicate things don't get messed up in translation, all that. The answer is the VA is not where a modern, first-class healthcare system needs to be yet for women. Okay?
Thank
A couple more.
you. Yes, sir.
Chairman Rowe and Congressman Brett, John Jackson, retired Colonel Marines. Quick question, actually two. Can you tell us the status of HR 5671, which is the Burn Pit Accountability Act? And looking forward, because that's obviously looking in the rearview mirror, can you tell us what the Congress is intending to do to avoid future use of burn pits? Thank you.
Well, what if, I'm sure most of y'all know, you dig a hole, throw everything that you can't use in a pit and burn it up. I mean, that's basically what it is. Colonel, I have, I started, I don't know whether my committee, and I'm a little frustrated with DOD because DOD has been really bad at sharing information. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you how bad they were. We had a roundtable about 2 months ago that did not even have a representative show up. We've got to have their cooperation. I get the problem after it's happened, you follow me? And then trying to figure out what happened, what you do, what you burn up, who was affected, who was around it, all that stuff. So we've got to get them at the table. And basically what I started was, I don't want another Agent Orange 50 years from now. So what we're going to try to get a registry going, to get some real science in this and do it right. And I can tell you this scientist is going to try to do that and then figure out, is it related or not? Maybe it's something else. That's fine. It is what it is. So that's what we're doing with that. And I'll have to tell you, so far, DOD's been less than cooperative, and I don't know why. I don't know why they wouldn't want to be part of the solution.
I think he's been waiting a while.
Yep, oh, yes, sir.
Thank you both for having us here. One of the things, I'm sorry, my name is Michael Noriega. I'm a Desert Storm veteran. I'm retired Navy. One of the problems that I see every day at VA hospitals, because I go there twice a week, and I've had to file multiple claims over the past 25 years. Reading comprehension is where you should be putting most of the money in, because that's why we have so many claims. We have so many claims, backlogs, and appeals. I just want an appeal in DC.
At the board?
At the BVA, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Judge Derek Brown decided on a case that was common sense, that if anybody could read the 38 CFR, they would have been able to give me my benefits without having me go through 5 years of an appeal. And I didn't graduate high school, so if you can imagine someone has never graduated high school, is able to comprehend the 38 CFR. Now, that should have never happened, but it happened either because someone doesn't know how to comprehend what they read, or they're just deliberately denying veterans their benefits. Now, anybody can sit here and decide that. I've had numerous claims denied over the past 25 years, approved after the third or fourth time. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a rater, and I'm not a VSO, but I know how to read, and I know what's wrong with my body, and I know how I got it. So if someone in the process had been able to comprehend what they were reading, I would have never had to wait so long for my benefits. And this is, I'm not an isolated incident. There's tons of us veterans out there. And there's a solution for it.
There is, and it is quality over quantity. And we have, I've explained to them, because you hire another 1,000 claims adjudicators, doesn't mean you'll get quality. I want these people to be, as you said, trained and understand exactly what, and make this, and part of it is getting the information to them. And if you have a situation, I'm glad you went to the board, but here's a problem we've gotten into. The new system we have is going to speed up those claims. It leaves 450,000 claims in the old system. And VA has not yet told us and figured out how they're going to clean out guys like you that have been in the queue for years. I would suggest for those of you who are out there, go to Dave's office or to your VSO who's helping you and look at the new lanes you can get into. I think some of you can get right down. And thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do like one I've got to do.
Yeah. All right. Sure. And we'll stick around. My staff, everyone raise their hand. This is Chris, Allie's back here, Mitch is back there, the General's here, Eric's here, and so we're all here to help get you in the right line. And I have access to Chairman Rowe all the time up there, or while we're down here.
Yeah, like we see each other every day.
Yeah, and so if you've got questions where I need to bump into his expertise, just let us know. We know most of the folks we have met with, and Janice has been working with like crazy. And so we appreciate all you've done to serve the country first and foremost. And we're gonna get it right for you. Guys, real quick, just real quick. Yep.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank you all. I just sat in on a town hall meeting with Secretary Wilkie yesterday, and they signaled a willingness to start making this aircraft carrier that's going in the wrong direction come back. And I want to thank you all for, number one, getting the bill, the mission bill done, and getting the authorization language, and getting that first time in 10 years authorization bills from activated before 30 September. So y'all did a great job on that, my applause. However, going forward, the mission bill provides a lot of tools, strategies, and operational art. But what's going to happen to maintain that oversight? Because standardization and implementation, even though you've got the money, it's going to be really hard. We heard how one state does well, one state does awful, one hospital does.
Yeah.
So the oversight is going to be important.
Yep.
And so, and I want to say to all of you all, I'm a member of the Marine Corps League, and when you have somebody who goes to the VA hospital, when we have somebody that has an issue like that, and they get excommunicated from the hospital, we send a battle buddy with them. We send a Marine with them, and they go down there and make sure, number one, that they get in and there's a witness, and that it's not just retaliation. Because all of a sudden now you get a crowd, things happen. So,
There you go. Thank you, sir.
AUSA, MOAA, Navy League, Marine Corps League, all of these.
And that's what I
DoD.
wanted, was to start connecting some of these dots. MOA, he's listed group after group. We'll grab your card and maybe get your resources we can share with
Yeah,
everybody.
so anyways, don't feel like you're alone,
Right.
because we've been there. I'm a disabled veteran too, so if somebody gives me a hard time, I bring my pal, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
2 Marines can win anything.
Right.
I'd like to hear how you see the oversight of implementation, so that we can get this thing done now that we've got
Well,
money and a plan.
You'll appreciate this, and Dave knows him very well, but Jack Bergman, you know Jack? Well, Jack is a retired 3-star Marine, and he went off his medication and ran for Congress like I did and won. In the Congress, and I asked him to be on the Veterans Affairs Committee. And Jack is our Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee Chair on that. So we've got a 3-star Marine overseeing oversight. The second thing I did, because this implementation of this electronic health record CERMER program is so, I can't tell you how important. If they screw this up, it'll be a $30 or $40 billion mess, and it will affect health care of our veterans. So I set up whether I'm in the majority, whether I'm the chairman, the ranking member, we're going to stay on this. We set up a subcommittee that their only job is oversight of implementation of this electronic health record system. So you're absolutely correct. And I say this to you all as honestly as I can say to anything. The VA Mission Act will be transformative, or it'll be just another piece of paper signed into Washington that means nothing if it's not implemented properly. And that's why I'm here to try to make sure that it does
And
that.
with that, I'm gonna have to draw a hard line to get him back with his security agent over there. I'm gonna come back in the meantime, General will take over. We have Delegate John McGuire over here, he's on the agenda today, we wanna have him stand, he's served our country as well. So, you guys take control, I'm gonna walk him out, and let's all give Bill Rowe.